Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my channel yet again. And obviously, as you all know, it's me, Insane Gorilla. And welcome back to the Orbital Drop Shock Troopers, or as we most commonly know them as the ODSDs, or the ODSTs. And this is, well, what if Izuku Midoriya was an ODSD? It's not going to replace the what if he was a Spartan, but hey. We start off with, well, 4 years before the Covenant arrive. No, not 4 years, quite some time before the Covenant arrive. The insurrection was a heavily fortified thing that outright disrespected the UNSC. UNSC created the ODSTs to strike behind enemy lines. And, well, one ODSD was called ODSD 2042, aka Mallet, or Mute, to be more precise, because he was a bit like the rookie from the ODSD game. He never talked. He was a qualified son of a gun to his peers. But he also had a good friendship with Trooper Buck, or as he most commonly gets known as, Gunny Buck. But this is before he became a gunny. Now, Mute would often speak, well, actually speak only directly to Buck. Physically, no, not physically speak with words, not remain silent. Everybody doesn't know what what Mute looks like, because he, as I said, like the rookie, he's mute and he doesn't take off his helmet. Buck usually calls him out and says, "Mute over here," whenever they're in combat exercises. As well, Buck and Mute often get along with each other. You would often find these two being the only two standing due to their teamwork. Until Mute gets told he's going to be a part of a special project built specifically for the ODSDs. And because of his quiet nature, they say he's the best candidate. But this is going to be taking over a few years. And so he is gone for those few years. And for a combination of drugs and small augmentations, not to be single to Spartan augmentations, because he's not a Spartan, he's an ODSD. Mute finds, well, Buck again with a specifically young looking lady with blonde hair and blue eyes. Buck notices Mute and waves him over, but Mute just shakes his head in saying no, as he does his hand sign saying, I'm not even meant to be here yet. As he has Buck also does a hand sign saying, why don't you meet Veronica Dare, a friend of mine? As Mute once again shakes his head saying no. As he reaches up to his head, to his helmet, as he nods, then runs off. Buck just puts his hands up in the air, saying, come on, man, you gotta spend some time with some women. As, well, Veronica Dare just says, leave him. He obviously doesn't want to speak to you. Yes, okay, you two were speaking military talk, but perhaps there's a reason why he couldn't come over. He said he couldn't come over here because he's not meant to be here yet. So perhaps he's got a date or something like that. As Veronica is still part of Oni, but she's not as harsh to Buck as she was in the game, even though we hear a bit more about their backstory in the game as well. But in this, those two are still dating. And matter of fact, those two are actually going to get married within a few days. I'm going to say this, just for community's sake, they did a deed a few years ago, and they have a daughter. She's the same age as Mute, 19. So yes, well, going back to the story, as Mute goes back to where he was told to go. As he, well, gets given a new set of armor and a new weapon. And the weapon is the weapon you see in the image now, and the armor is that. But pretend it's a bit more advanced and it's got leg protectors and all that. Is, well, he becomes one of the first true new ODSTs as he, well, goes to a small insurrection outpost to retrieve a scientist that, well, was captured by the insurrection and is being forced to be a, well, is being forced to make new weapons for the insurrection so they can mass produce them, then use them against the UNSC. As he gets there, he stealthily sneaks into the insurrection base. After a few hours, finds the scientist and takes the same route he got in back out. Unfortunately, though, it's through the sewers that has been drained of all water. It still smells, but at least they're not going to pick up any nasty diseases. As soon as they get out, they find a young girl who's got black hair and blue eyes. And she goes by the name of Bucky Jr. And Izuku sort of does hand signals saying, "Are you related to my old friend Buck or something?" And she does in military hand signs as well, saying, "I'm his daughter." And that's. And he's Gunny Buck to you. As Mute does once again hand signals saying, "Well, he got some woman to bang out a kid for him, so let's hope you're not as cocky as he is." All by doing it in hand signals. And she sort of says, "Do you ever talk to people? My, my old man says you do talk, but you talk only to him. The rest of the time you just do military hand signs to people." As Mute says, just does another hand signal saying, "And I've only found your father to be a worthy person to trust with my words." And she says, "Oh, so that's why you don't talk to people. You just don't trust them." As he just nods, as he says once again, "Let's go." She nods her head and says, "There's a warthog nearby. I'll get the gunner seat. You drive." And she's also one of these new ODSDs as well. Even her father doesn't know. As they drive off and get the scientist back to a spaceport that takes her directly to Earth. And by the way, they're on an unknown planet that I'm not going to bother naming because meh. As they drive off to a UNSC base, she gets off the gun and slips into a seat next to Mute. As she says, "My father told me a lot about you. He calls you one of the best ODSDs he's ever worked beside, and he calls you his brother in arms. So what's it like working with my father?" As Mute just doesn't say anything, because obviously he's concentrating. As she says, "Right, you're driving, so you can't talk. You can't do military hand signs to talk to me, so okay." Eventually she, well, falls asleep on the drive back. And Mallet, thinking that she can't hear him, speaks, saying, "It's an honour working alongside your father, although I did have to leave some time ago for a project that only had going. Honestly, I didn't realise he had a kid. Thanks for being honest with me. Not many people find a freak like me somewhat agreeable sometimes. That's why I always remain silent." As he has sort of a gravelly voice, as he said it, as Buck Jr., as she calls herself, wakes up saying, "Well, My father's always a bit of an idiot, but apparently if you pretend to fall asleep and just wait, people will slip up. And just to let you know, I don't think you're a freak just because you don't talk. Or is it because you do talk and people just call you a freak because you do? As Mallet just, well, as Mute just looks at her, then goes back to being quiet. She just says, "Oh, come on. I'm not going to tell anybody else apart from my old man. Hell, even my mother doesn't know that you talk. Hell, both of them even know you on a personal level. Well, my father, my mother not so much. So your secret's safe with me. So whenever me, you, and my father are together, you can talk. Honestly, I find your voice very soothing. Better than the grovelly old voice of my father." As she, well, chuckles and slams her arm into his shoulder, which she just looks at her and then looks back directly back onto the road. As they pull up to a military checkpoint going into the military base. As they get waved in, then automatically pulled over as an ODSD soldier walks up to them saying, "Only wants to see you two now." They've got a representative up in the main building up there. Go on, get going. As he points up to to the main hangar where a pelican is. As they both just drive up, stop, and get out. As they see an ONI officer or an ONI agent with Buck having a few words behind trying to be stealthy and have words with this ONI agent on the side of a pelican. On the other side of the pelican, Buck Jr., as she calls herself, puts a helmet on as she tells Izuku her father's here, so she better keep a helmet on. As Mute agrees. As he also says, "That's why I keep my helmet on at all times." As they salute Buck, as he salutes them, as he says, whispers saying, "Look, Veronica, I don't want people to know we're together, okay? I know these two already. I know these two are here, so make sure you don't tell anybody else this, okay?" As they both salute, saying, well, one says, "Yes, sir," as Mute says, "Okay, Buck." As they both walk off. As, well, Veronica tells Buck this is beyond her control, as she announces to everybody who was an ODSD that they are deploying on going straight to Harvest, then going to another planet in a neighbouring system. They are going to go and cause a lot of ruckus for the insurrection. As Buck gets called up, and he calls up two others, mainly being his daughter and Mute. As both of them, well, get up, walk up to both of them, salute, and then sit down. As, well, Veronica says, us four are your commanding officers for this mission. We all drop together, we all work together, and if needs be, we go into separate groups together. Just to let you know, this is a heavily fortified insurrection base that we are going to. So if you see any insurrection forces, you stealthily take them out. No loud gunfire, or otherwise the whole base will be under immediate lockdown and every insurrection soldier will be out to get us. Do I make myself clear? As there's a shrouding, yes ma'am. As Buck gives them the layout of the, well, gives them the layout of the base, hoping that everybody will follow the plan to get in, kill everybody silently if they have to, because if they bump into somebody and they raise the alarm, they're going to have to go loud. So it's best to take everybody out silently. As they get the code name Ghost Division. And that's a song out of Sabaton, I know. Go and listen to it. It's a good song. As everybody looks at each other saying, Ghost Division? What? As Buck says, because we are all getting taken off Oni's radar. Oni has authorized us to become the Spec Ops of the Spec Ops. We are all gathered here because we are the best of the best out of our own units. And be aware there's 150 of them. So yeah, that's a lot of people. They're all men and women who have passed the ODSD tests. As, well, Buck grabs his daughter and Newt as he drags them off to the side. As he tells Veronica what he's doing quickly, as he puts them up both against the wall, far enough distance away and in a different room, as he says, Blake, I told you not to go on a mission, or you hell sneak off the base. As well, Mute looks at Buck, saying she's Blake. Her name's Blake. Who came up with that idea? It sounds like somebody off of Ruby, what I used to watch a lot of. A shame Rooster Teeth is no longer going around these days, but hey. And yes, I did. I just came up with the word Blake because I actually like Blake from Ruby. She's a good person. As she just says, yeah, my name's Blake, and it was my dad's idea. Because he knows you like Ruby. As Newt just looks at him saying, really? So you name your daughter Blake? How retarded can you be? As he just says, oh, shut up. I'm giving you guys details here, so don't screw this up. And that's actually where I'm leaving it, guys. Hope you like, comment, subscribe. Peace.